We're on a mission from God.
And now for something completely different.
Let's get ready to rumble! Yeah, baby, yeah!
This is Pastor Jolly John Lekumsky from St. Paul's Lutheran Church in New Athens, Illinois, and Trinity Lutheran Church in Darmstadt, Illinois. We were right in the center of the darkness, the blackness, the totality, as they called it.
The path of totality. Sounds kind of ominous.
And right next to me, I have another one who was in the path of totality.
Pastor Matt Youngblood Clark from Ascension Lutheran Church on the beautiful streets of South St. Louis.
Yes, but they were dark. They were ominously dark in the middle of the day.
That's right.
And did anything strange happen on that dark day there at Ascension there in St. Louis? Because like in our place, the street lights came on in the middle of the day.
It was eerie. The street lights came on in the middle of the day. The crickets came out in the middle of the day and started chirping.
That's what was really crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. And then it was like all of a sudden when the sun came back, it was like, oops, we're not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
I told you, Harry, it wasn't time to be making noise.
The same thing with the bees. We had these big bumblebees, and they were all over our garden, and then all of a sudden it started getting dark, and then they flew away, almost on cue. The sun came out again. They came right back to the very same flowers they were at before. I mean, it was amazing. Everything is just so fine-tuned the way God has put everything together. It's just that little bit of darkness kind of triggers nightlife.
And what was crazy is not only true of the bees and the locusts, but also bricklayers, because we have a bricklayer in our church, and he said, nope, no work on that day. He said he got a little notice in his paycheck saying that because of safety reasons.
Is that right?
They were not going to lay brick that day. I thought, really?
Safety reasons.
It wasn't dark that long. I don't think you could.
We had about a minute, I guess, by us. And that's about it.
And so what did you do? What did you do? Oh, by the way, let me perhaps point out that, yes, we understand the eclipse happened over a month ago. But we kind of figured everybody was tired of hearing about the eclipse a month ago, so we've waited this show until now.
That's right. Trying to do a public service. Yeah. We wanted to talk about the eclipse, but not when everyone was sick and tired of the eclipse.
That's right. So we figured by now maybe you'd be interested in hearing some biblical things about the eclipse. But again, before that, so what did you do? What did you do on that eclipse day?
Well, nothing too big. My wife got half a day off, so that was kind of nice.
That's it. Things were shutting down.
Things were shutting down, and I know some schools were out too. So we just went to our backyard because we were in the path of totality, and it was a great view.
And I'm looking at the cameras and seeing the traffic all backed up on the freeways and everything. And just like you, I said, that's kind of neat to be in New Athens, where I just step out my door and there it is.
That's about it.
There's the eclipse.
Yeah, I didn't have to travel from the other side of the world or anything.
We did have a lot of guests because my wife's school is in Oakville, which was not in the path of totality.
Oh, okay, just far enough away.
99.81% of darkness, but not total darkness.
Really?
So they drove to be with us in New Athens to see it.
It made a difference. What impressed me, too, is just a tiny sliver of sunlight.
Yeah.
It was almost like the middle of the day. It was just for the totality that things really got dark.
And you're absolutely right. That is the thing that amazed me, too, because like you said, I had my special glasses. And I could tell you a story about the glasses because I had some of the glasses that Amazon, that was the big news well, don't use these glasses. We don't know whether these glasses are any good or not. But I used them anyway because that's the only glasses I had. But yeah, so you could see the sun getting darker. But like, say, if you didn't have the glasses, you would never know.
You wouldn't even know. Yeah.
Because you'd look up at it and it's still like, wow, that's really bright. That hurts my eyes.
Yeah.
Which is why you shouldn't do that, people. Don't look up at the sun. It hurts your eyes. What's wrong with you? I'm sorry. What were you saying? I got off track.
No, you're exactly right. Even a sliver, just if the moon's covering 99% of it still, it's too bright to look at, so it looks like a full sun.
Yep. But then it was cool when it was all totally dark and just there's a word for that, the Corona or whatever.
The Corona.
Is that what it is?
The Mexican beer of the sun. I don't know. Who names this stuff.
I don't know. All right. But we wanted to share with you some biblical thoughts about that.
Yes.
So, Matt, where do you want to start?
Did we say this is wrestling with the basics?
I don't think we did.
I don't think so either.
This is
wrestling with the basics. All right. Very good. Let's look at the Bible. Let's start there. Always a good place to start. So let's go to the Psalms. Let's go to Psalm 19.
Okay.
This is a psalm of David.
I have it right here.
And this is a psalm that, I mean, you can almost picture David looking up into the sky as the Holy Spirit inspires him to record these words. So I think, oh my goodness. Well, why don't you read verses 1 through 6?
Can I just make a preliminary comment before I read this too, that you mentioned that David looking up into the sky. See, we are so egotistical. We think we're the only people that figured out eclipses. But the fact of the matter is, no, the ancient people understood what an eclipse is too. Now, there may have been some pagan tribes, that's true, that thought, oh my God, the sun god is going dark. But actually, most people in the ancient world understood this was an astrological phenomenon. The sun was not going out. They understood how these things worked. So don't think we're so smart.
I know.
There were smart people back then too. All right, Psalm 119.
Okay.
Oh, 19, not 119. Yeah. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaim his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. How far was I supposed to go?
Well, through verse 6.
Okay, there is no speech, nor are there words whose voice is not heard. Their voice goes out throughout the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set a tent for the sun, which comes out like a bridegroom leaving his chamber, and like a strong man runs its course with joy. Its rising is from the end of the heavens, and its circuit to the end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat. It's a wonderful text, man.
Really kind of a cool eclipsey text.
Yes, it is.
But especially verse 1, that the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. And how true that is. Just the majesty every night of the night sky with the stars and the planets and the moon. And during the day, certainly, the heavens themselves, the sun, the clouds, the sky. Incredible. It just proclaims God's handiwork.
And I love that image of the sun as a strong man, and we kind of mentioned that already. Even as it's being blacked out, it's still so incredible. Well, even when it was totally blacked out, I tried to take a picture with my camera, but even just that little light that was shining around the moon, the camera just saw it as one big bright light.
Yep.
That's all it did. No.
That's it. And I think, as you hear David's words here, David has this thought that when he looks up in the sky, there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Yes.
There's more than just the eyes can see. No, these are the heavens declaring the glory of God. There's more than meets the eye, right? And just thinking through that eclipse, we mentioned the insects are coming out and bees are going away and how it looked, but just the science behind it, how this moon that's 400 times smaller than the sun,
incredibly smaller than the sun,
is just in the right spot to just block out the sun almost entirely. I mean, a little closer, it wouldn't really work. A little further away, that wouldn't have the same effect either. But it's just perfectly positioned. I mean, it's just incredible when you think about it. And then when you think about, I think I overheard you on the Bible study talking about how the Earth is the only planet that has an eclipse like this in our solar system. Is that right?
Yeah. There is another planet, I can't remember which it is, that one of its moons will eclipse the sun, but it's like a potato-shaped moon, and so it really isn't very impressive.
Potato-shaped.
I'm just telling you what the scientists say. Well, you can see that if you put a potato in front of the sun. Yeah, it's not really going to have the same effect.
Sure.
This nice round. And see, we just assume that moons have to be round, but they don't have to be. They can be potato-shaped.
Potato-shaped. We have that.
But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, that's incredible. So, and again, when you think of this as the science behind it, and something more is going on here than meets the eye. There's got to be. And I think that, as you alluded to, the ancient people thought that too. When you look at history and when you look at how people thought of eclipses, I mean, they thought all sorts of different things about them.
I didn't know this. I'll share this with me.
They knew the science behind it, like you said, and they're no dummies, and they could even predict eclipses, right? But then at different times throughout history, eclipses, just coincidence or what have you, they've coincided with different events. Like one of the kings of England, I forget which off the top of my head, died during an eclipse or that same day.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis died the day after.
Oh, that's true. I don't know what that says.
I don't know.
Anyway.
think Gregory died the day of the eclipse, didn't he?
I don't know.
So there you go. Yeah,
so
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Impending doom, and I think that some societies you looked at over the years, some people's that there it is a sign of doom and destruction. This isn't a good thing.
Nope, a bad omen.
A bad omen. And whether true or not, and they're really not true.
No, wait a second.
Go ahead.
It might be true in some instances, but go ahead. Finish your point. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead and make your point.
But my point is, I think societies over the years, they figure there's something more going on here than meets the eye.
Yes.
There's not just, this blockage of the sun, but there's something more going on here maybe, whether there is or not.
Well, and from the get-go, that's what it says. God made these things to be signs. That was the design. That was the whole purpose of it. And in fact, I can't remember the biblical passage right now, but I think that they could be interpreted as evil omens for those that do not have faith.
Okay.
On the other hand, I think the Bible assures us that no, these signs are not something for us to worry about. Those of us who believe, those of us who know about God, as we've talked about him here on the radio show so often as a God of grace and mercy and forgiveness, the Jesus Christ our Savior. No, they're not a sign for us to be frightened of. But I suppose without faith, they would be kind of a thing that you should be scared of. That the sun could go dark like that.
Yeah. What's happening here?
Yeah.
One thing we did, kind of fun, I thought, because I came up with it, I guess. But,
well, you are a fun guy.
But for worship, I think it's fun. As far as mine, I think. But our hymns, the weekend of the eclipse, every hymn had the word either sun or moon or eclipse in the hymn. So that was kind of fun.
There's hymns that have eclipse in them? Really?
So the Easter hymn, Christ the Lord is risen today, I think it is. It talks about how the sun's eclipse is over. And it's really? S-U-N in there, but it's talking about the sun, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This idea that he goes dark, dies.
Oh, I like that image.
He's darkened for a time, but then the eclipse is over on Easter Sunday when he rises from the dead and rises to life.
What
so that's
a neat image.
Isn't that cool? So,
especially having seen the eclipse, because you know what that is. It does. It goes completely dark, but not for long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's for a time. 3 days in the tomb, right? And then he's risen. All right. So, I wasn't going to focus so much on that event of Easter, but I wanted to focus on another event closely connected.
All right.
So if we want to open up our Bibles to the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke.
I think I know where you're going.
Okay.
Because I actually read this before.
Okay, Luke chapter 23.
I just didn't want people to think that I was like psychic or something. No, I'm not implying that at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. A little less what might be happening tomorrow. But Matt gave me this text.
You're not quite so sure what's going on right now.
Yeah, I know. That's right. Wait, how much should I read?
So Luke 23, verse 44. Just to set the scene, this is Good Friday, all right? Friday afternoon, Jesus is hanging on the cross. He's dying on the cross. And then we read about this darkness that occurs.
In fact, the heading in my Bible is the death of Jesus.
Yeah. So if you want to read verses 44 through, we can do 46.
Okay. It was now about the 6th hour, and there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour, while the sun's light failed. Whoa. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Then Jesus, calling out with a loud voice, said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last.
Yeah.
Wow, I like that. And the sun's light failed.
The sun's light failed. So what's going on here? Is this a 3-hour eclipse? What's the deal?
I actually read someone that suggested that, but that doesn't make sense to me.
No, yeah. I mean, the path of totality that we've been talking about, the best, longest time you could be in total darkness with this most recent eclipse is like a little under 3 minutes.
And thousands of people were rushing to get to that spot, so they could have that 3 minutes. But 3 hours, I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. It's not 3 minutes; it's 3 hours here. And this is the Passover, right?
Yes.
And during the Passover, it's not a new moon. See, you have to have a new moon to have an eclipse.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
So this is definitely not an eclipse. All right, like we just had. This is something else that's certainly miraculous. It's God's doing. We don't get the details. We don't know. We don't know what happened. But in some way, God darkened the land for 3 hours. I mean, can you imagine being at the foot of the cross that day, that Good Friday afternoon? I mean, you have no idea what's happening, how long the sun's going to be away, if it's going to even come back at all. See, with these eclipses, like you said, now, today, and even ancient peoples, they could predict this, and they would know how long it would last, and we know how long it would last down to the second. They have no idea.
That's creepy because you know, I was thinking, what if the sun got stuck? And of course, I had Pastor Eric with me from Oakville, and he said, "Oh, John, we have rockets prepared to move the moon if we have to."
Oh, wait a second.
I think he was just playing with me there. But anyway, to think that all of a sudden it did get stuck and it's not getting light, that would really be creepy.
No guarantees, right?
Yeah.
Something, as you're watching this from the foot of the cross, I don't think you could help but think that something more is happening here than meets the eye. Something more is happening here than we see with our own eyes. Glory of the Lord. Yeah. In fact, what's the reaction of the centurion, the Roman centurion there at the foot of the cross? Verse 47, that next verse.
Okay. I turned back. I should never have done that. 47. Now, when the centurion saw what had taken place, so exactly what you just referred to, the sun's light going out, he praised God, saying, "Certainly this man was innocent."
Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Yeah. The heavens declare the glory of God. And then what about the crowds that day? If you're going to keep on reading, verse 48.
And all the crowds that had assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place again, returned home beating their breasts. And all his acquaintances and the women who had followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching these things. I had never thought about that phrase, what had taken place, but it's referring to that 3 hours of darkness.
Isn't it interesting?
Isn't it? Yeah.
And certainly they've heard what Jesus said from the cross too, and it's all these, I would say it's everything,
sure.
All the events of Good Friday, but certainly kind of ends and is capped off with these 3 hours of darkness, and then people even going home beating their breasts. Yeah. And you wonder if it was some of the same people that might have been there to cheer on the crucifixion.
Yeah, mocking him and making fun of him. He saved others, but he cannot save himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the whole point is there is most definitely infinitely more going on here than meets the eye. I mean, it looks like there's a guy dying on a cross, a criminal, someone who claimed to be the king of the Jews, as the sign above him says, but it's so much more. This is the Son of God.
Yeah.
This is the light of the world being snuffed out, Jesus himself dying so that those at the foot of the cross and we would have light and life. Infinitely more happy than just what our eyes see. Yeah. So at creation, that's the case, and with the creation and we see the created world today with the eclipse, more happening than meets the eye. But here at redemption, again, at the cross, more happening than meets the eye.
And that goes back to what we were saying earlier about the fact that we are the only planet upon where there is an eclipse. And thinking of declaring the glories of the Lord, the handiwork of God. See, on any other planet, what difference would an eclipse make? It wouldn't make anything at all. Who would care? No one would care. But here on the one planet where we do have people with a conscience and a vision and an understanding, that's a wonderful, wonderful phenomenon that goes on. And I think you're right. I think that's a testimony as God's doing things. He's in control of stuff that's going on. But of course, this is just such a, again, talking to an image of light, that marvel. And people did marvel. It wasn't amazing how the whole thing became focused and people wondered that the moon had come across the sun. And yet that is such a shadow of the really great and glorious light that God has shined on the world through his son, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You thought that sun is bright. Well, it's nothing compared to the brightness of Christ's love and forgiveness and the fact that he died for the sins of the whole world. Because again, that eclipse, you and I got to enjoy it because we were there in the totality. But think most of the world, they didn't even know anything was going on, did they?
Yeah.
No big deal.
No clue.
Yeah, them Americans are getting all worked up, but they didn't see anything anywhere else. Yeah. But that's the light of Jesus Christ. No, that's meant to be a wonderment and a joy and blessings to everybody.
For the whole world.
For the whole world.
And you wonder about that. Why did God create this world, a world with a moon and a world with eclipses and a world with rainbows and canyons and mountains and blue skies and all of those wonderful things? And ultimately, he's just a God of love. God is love. And he creates the world out of love. It's not for his own pleasure. It's not, just because of himself, but to share that with us. And for it to point to him and to his majesty and to his glory. And that's just how God works. That's his MO. He creates out of love without any merit or worthiness in us, right? He redeems us out of love without anything in us. And that's just how God does it.
The thing, and we don't want to get into an extended discussion of evolution here, but of course, evolution proposes that everything that happens because of this whole survival of the fittest and everything. And so that's how we end up with what we have. But you see, there's a whole list of phenomena that happen in the world that don't fit evolution at all. Eclipses are one thing. They serve no purpose. So why did the world evolve so that it would be in eclipse? There's no need for that. It doesn't accomplish anything. Why exactly what were you just talking about? Rainbows.
Yeah.
Again, what possible function? Oh, but the same thing. You're driving down the road. We were driving shortly after the eclipse. Did you get rain in St. Louis? We got a little storm.
I got a little.
Yeah, but it was just enough to make a rainbow.
A rainbow.
So not only did we marvel at the eclipse, but we got to see this beautiful rainbow. Again, what purpose? That serves no purpose except to bring us joy. Another thing I remember reading is we're going to get into the season of fall now, right? We're in September. It won't be long. The leaves will be turning. Do you realize there's absolutely no evolutionary purpose to having color in the leaves?
Isn't that amazing?
Well, in fact, it's actually stupid on the part of you stupid trees, because they suck all of the stuff out of the leaves, all of the green stuff. What's that called?
Sap or the
no,
whatever.
No,
the
chloroform.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? It's chloroform. Chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll.
No, chloroform is what we use to knock people out. Chlorophyll. And that has a purpose because they need that energy to survive the months when they won't have any leaves. So they suck all that stuff out. So they have that source of energy. But then they turn around and they put sugars back into the leaves, which of course does not help the tree. I'm thinking you need to keep your sugars, don't you? But no, they throw the sugars into those leaves, and it accomplishes nothing on the behalf of the tree, except again we go, aren't those beautiful leaves?
Yeah.
See? So you're absolutely right. The heavens do declare the glory of the Lord. In fact, everything in his creation declares his glory. If you'd open your eyes and look, there's all these beautiful signs that he did these things just to bring us pleasure and joy. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I think that it increases our appreciation for it. If it's just evolution, if it's just random, some of it then, like these leaves changing, this moon orbiting around our Earth, big deal. But if it's there because God loves us, and he wants to give us joy, and he wants for his majesty to point to him, well, then, it's meaningful. This is pretty cool.
But admittedly, there's also earthquakes and tornadoes and floods, as you've talked about, and hurricanes, and there's all kinds of other evidence that would make us think maybe God hates us. And of course, that's why ultimately the only way we can really know the love of God and the only real reason we can have for eternal joy is through Jesus Christ. But once you know that, once you have Christ, you can begin to see, he's there all over the place. He's there all over the place.
And I'm glad you brought it back to Jesus, because I think we have this neat picture then of heaven. Heaven where there's really not the light of the sun even needed at all anymore. God himself.
Is the light.
He is the light. At the center of it all, he is the light. And we won't need any eclipse glasses to be able to gaze at our God or see the face of Jesus. But as perfect, sinless, new created people, we'll see our Savior face to face. How cool is that? Boy, it's going to be better than any eclipse even.
Matt, what a beautiful image. We do not need any eclipse glasses.
That's right.
We should we?
And then some, and as sinful people, sure, but as his new creation, and especially thinking of his return, no eclipse glasses needed. We'll see our Savior face to face.
God's blessings to all of you. This has been yet another episode of
Wrestling with the Basics.
If we don't remember to say it at the beginning, maybe we can remember to say it at the end.
That's the least we can do.